G'day guys and welcome to VEMA Trader. My name is Reese and in this video I'm going to be running you through my thoughts on Bitcoin for the coming week. There's a few potential trades I'm looking at, so what I'll do is I'll head to VEMA, I'll show you guys what I'm seeing on the charts, my analysis, and then I'll show you guys these setups that I'm going to be entering on VEMA for the week. Righto, so here we are on the weekly. Now the key things to note are that we broke the uptrend probably about 2 months ago. That was from March of 2020, so that's not the best sign for Bitcoin. But we are still strongly holding this demand zone that we created in July of 2021, right? You can see we've bought back up quite strongly each time we've come back down to that. So that's a pretty good sign for Bitcoin. At the end of the day, it's sort of just ranging, right? It's sort of just in a range between about $65,000 and $30,000. And so that is how I'm viewing things on the weekly. All right, so we get down to the dailies and things start to look a little bit more interesting. So first thing, I always like to have a high time frame bias. So my high time frame bias at the moment, my daily bias, is bearish. Price has been forming sort of lower lows, lower highs, lower highs, lower lows. Now it has formed a higher high just here, then it's formed an equal high. I'm not too sold on those, there is a higher low there because we have a descending wedge. So a descending wedge after a big move down, or a descending wedge in any conditions really, but especially after a big move down, is typically a sign that things are going to keep moving to the downside. They tend to break to the downside more often than they break to the upside. They definitely can go up, but the higher probability from a descending wedge is for price to continue going down. That makes me not super confident in Bitcoin over the next couple of months, essentially. The end of this wedge is June, so you're talking quite a long time frame, but I like to have a big picture view of what I think could potentially happen. The key levels that I'm watching, the demand zones. So the strongest demand zone that we are currently holding is this one here. The reason I think that's the strongest is that was a huge sell-off and this is where we pivoted. It's not a huge pivot, to be honest, but that is where we sort of did turn around for a bit. Here was more just a consolidation. Came down, went sideways a little bit, came down again. So the fact that we have bounced from this zone, it's kind of the key level that I'm watching. That said, we wicked quite far into it, which is not a great sign for Bitcoin again. On the upside, there is supply at about 48,000, this one here, that lines up really nicely with an EQ level that was previously held really well. And the $50,000 mark, which is this supply zone here, roughly, lines up really well with the 50 fib of the entire push down. So those two levels, I think if we do head up, are likely to act as decent resistance. There's a good chance that price will reject from there. To the downside, if we do break through these levels, then this sort of $31,000 demand zone is the key level that I am watching. And now we arrive at the 4 hour. So the 4 hour to me paints a pretty interesting picture. You can see I've still got the sort of daily demand zone. I like keeping an eye on where that is. I've still got the daily ascending wedge marked off, but I've added in a bunch of 4 hour supply and demand levels. So this demand level here, this sort of 34K, you can see that that's probably pretty strong. We bounced beautifully off it when price came down. And then we really rocketed up to form a higher high here. So full disclosure, I'm actually long off this demand zone, this one here, because we did create that higher high, lines up with the bottom of the ascending wedge, and there's a few things going on there that I like to look off. It's counter trend, so I've dropped my risk. That's what I do in my trade plan, but that is a trade that I am currently in. In terms of to the upside, there's quite a bit of resistance above, right? There is this EQ level at 30, so let's call that 40K. There is also the daily one at also 40K, so we'll call the first one 39,500. I've got to stop rounding off when I get down to the 4 hours. 39,500, 40K for the daily level. Then again, at about 42,000, there's a pretty strong 4 hour EQ, which also lines up really nicely with a 4 hour supply zone and the 50 fib of just this 4 hour move down, so just this push. Which that could continue to change, right? Because my fibs are measured from the last candle because that's the lowest that we have. If we continue to head down, those fibs will obviously shift. The 61.8 also lines up quite nicely with the sort of 42,500 supply zone. So I think there's a bit of an EQ through there too, to be honest. Let me get rid of that scribble. So potentially quite a bit of resistance on the upside. Now, the trades that I'm looking at for the week. So obviously the long that I am in currently, I'll probably take profit sort of quickly on this. Maybe not here, but I will potentially take profit quickly because I don't like the look of things on Bitcoin. This was an extremely harsh sell-off, right? Price crashed. I shouldn't say crashed. Price came down about $7 grand, and the recovery was extremely weak. You're talking about $1,000. So, and then it's continued to head down, found this demand zone, found some support. It might be quite weak. It might go straight through. So finally, the trades that I'm looking at for the week are both shorts. In keeping with my high time frame bias, I really like the look of shorts from this sort of 50 and the 61.8 supply zone. Now, how I would set those up, I'm quite happy to just use those zones to take my shorts. So I'll have alpha, short, I want a bounce because I'm expecting price to come up and bounce off. I won't use a distance to activate because I'm quite happy to just get in based on the zone, based on the EQ, based on all those sorts of things. In terms of risk management, they're with my high time frame bias, so I'm happy to take a full 1%. Minimum risk reward 2-to-1, beautiful. My stop loss will be fixed just on the other side of the trade, so let's call that on the other side of the zone. Sorry, 42036. 2036. And I will be targeting this demand zone with the 50, so 377. Actually, I'm going to be targeting this demand zone with the 50, 35,436. 436. So you can see that is quite a nice 8-to-1, which would be a ripper trade if that was to come off. In terms of the journal, what I will tag is I've got supply zone. I have 50 fib. I also have fibs. Like I've said a few times, I like to tag both fib and the fib specifically that I'm using, and high time frame bias bearish, which makes this with high time frame bias, which is a tag that I quite like to use. Is there anything else around that level? Oh, there's EQ, which is protecting my stop loss. Yes, there is a 4-hour EQ, and it's also a significant level, I think, because it is. No, we won't give it a significant level. My confidence, to be honest, I quite like the look of this. I'm going to go 7, sort of as confident as I get with a trade, to be honest. I don't think I'll ever go 8 or above. One thing I think is if you are 10 confident on a trade, stop and think. Stop and think. You know, I really don't think many traders should ever be 10 confident in a trade. So just consider that one. I know when I'm 10 confident, I am so heavily on tilt that I should not be trading. So that's a little, I actually really like the confidence level for that. I don't think that's something I've spoken about, but it's almost like a little tilt meter for me, right? If that gets above 8, maybe, I haven't used an 8 yet, but you know, if I get up to 9 or 10, I know that I really need to have a think about what I'm doing. I'm potentially on a hot streak or just getting way too arrogant in the market. So, you know, in both those situations, I wanted to sort of take a step back and just make sure I am thinking rationally. So that's a really good way to do it. If I see I'm given a 9 or a 10 on how confident I am on a trade, probably a sign to step back. That's pretty much what I would set up. I won't fill out the notes because I basically ran you guys through that already in terms of what I'm seeing. So cool. That is the short from the 50. I'll save that. And then we want the short from Bravo. So same thing again. Trigger, Bravo. Direction is going to be short. I am using the bounce again. And none of this changes. My stop loss will change. So I want my stop above here. So we're going to call that 42926. And if you guys remember Donnie's springboard analogy, I'm not going to be targeting as far down if we come back to 61.8. So I'm going to target here, 37764. In fact, we'll just avoid being front run, 37906. Because if we do come back to 61, it shows that there is, you know, a bit of buying strength pushing us back up there, and so potentially buyers will step in earlier when we come back down again. So I'd rather, you know, lock in my 5.5 to 5.54 risk to reward, which again, nothing to sneeze at. Quite happy with that. And same thing here. So we want fibs. We want 61.8 fib. We've again got a 4-hour EQ. And do we have anything else? Yes, with high time frame bias. Daily bias bearish. I think that is about it for that one. Let me just think. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. To be honest, I am less confident in the 61. I really like the look of the 50. Just for how harsh that sell-off was, that's a pretty strong EQ in there. The 50, I'm probably a little bit more confident. So I'm going to go at 6 for this one. And I can't remember what I went last time, and I don't know if my happiness level's changed in between the last 30 seconds, but I'm feeling very happy. I'm at the end of the video. I'm about to knock off, so that's always quite exciting. I think that's pretty much it for this trade, and in fact, really for this video. So those are the two setups that I'm looking at for the week. They're both shorts. Like I said, I like to trade in the direction of my high time frame bias. I am currently long, am currently long off this zone, but I'm not going to show you guys that because it's already open. So for me to show you that trade, kind of useless to you. You know, you're not really seeing what I was seeing when I set it up. I think that's it from me, guys. Hopefully you guys got something out of this video. Hopefully you're all having a ripper week. And yeah, have a great day. Happy trading, and I will talk to you soon.